You're listening to the We Are Libertarians Network. Learn more at wearelibertarians.com.
Welcome to the Boss Hog of Liberty podcast on the We Are Libertarians Network. I'm your host, Jeremiah Morrell. As always, I'm joined by our co-host, Dakota Davis. Welcome, Dakota.
What's up?
On my right today, we have our returning co-host, Clay Morgan. Hello, Clay.
Hey, glad to be back.
Our show is about our lives in rural Indiana. It's a show about the folks who are involved in politics. We promise that our episodes are going to be fun and an easy listen. We interview people that are influencers, elected officials, and political experts, and folks that are just going to be found interesting. Today's featured guest is a gentleman named Jonathan Lamb. He is running for the U.S. Congress seat, 6th District in Indiana. This seat has been held by David McIntosh from Muncie, went on from Congress to be the president of the Club for Growth, held by some guy named Mike Pence after that, who went on to become governor and the vice president of the country, and then currently held by Luke Messer, who's leaving the seat to run for the U.S. Senate. So, Jonathan, quite the list. If you get to this one, you got some high expectations, man.
That's right. Nothing to be scared about there.
So, welcome to the show. We're glad to have you.
Now, Jonathan, you're running as a Republican, right?
That's correct. Yeah.
But you handed out some flyers before we got started and business cards and stuff, and I love that you put conservative Republican at the bottom.
Yeah, there you
that's
go.
my favorite part about this flyer. It says it twice on here, like it's for real.
That's right. So the way we typically do the show is we'll do a few minutes of catch up here, Dakota and myself and Clay and anything that's happened in the last little while, and then we'll spotlight Jonathan, and then we're going to get into a handful of issues later in the show dealing with Indiana. And some local issues here, and then Dakota actually visited the Indiana or the Newcastle, Indiana City Council for the first time.
I did, yeah.
So we'll get into that.
And I went undercover for Clay.
That's
I
right.
went on a undercover mission.
So you were getting a little shaggy, and you couldn't work it out with your regular barber.
It was an unsanctioned undercover mission. Like I didn't approve it. He did it on his own, but I appreciate his input.
Well, see, it was Monday. And I knew I knew that I was going to be working late the rest of the week, and I was like, "Well, I gotta get my.
I understand.
I have to get my haircut.
I understand."
And I was like, you know what? I can turn this into a little bit of recon for Clay.
There you go.
So you went to the Famous Hair? Is that where you went to?
No, I didn't go there. I'm not gonna say the name of the barbershop.
It's okay if you do.
It sounds a lot like an airplane and a band from Days Gone By.
Actually, while you're talking about that, I will say this, because there has been little barbershop rumors going around the city.
Uh-oh.
Really?
Yes. Oh, there has.
I can't imagine rumors in a barbershop.
So, I know. Can you believe it?
They're not beauty
but
salons.
I will say this on air right now, that B-52s is just fine with me. And everything I've seen, Jeff does a really good job. So no issues there.
I knew he was going to be too nice.
Yeah, looks like a great haircut too. I
knew you were going to be too nice.
Yeah, no worries. No worries. Jeff's all right.
I just can't believe you paid $30 for that and you give Clay $10. That's the problem.
What?
Andy tipped him. Weird.
Oh no, that is bad. That's just.
I did tip him. I gave him $12.
Jonathan, when you go to the barber, are you a tipper when you go to the barber? Is that a thing for you?
But I'm not a cash guy. So
it's on the card. I'm the same way. We've talked about tipping a number of times on the show. It always accidentally comes up. But,
yes.
Yeah.
Well, Dakota's a frequent flyer, so he's all good.
He's on the monthly plan. It's like crew car wash. He's just got the regular pass, and he's just in there on the regular.
Yeah.
I think you should go with the stair steps, though.
The stair steps?
Yeah.
Maybe. I don't know if my employer would appreciate it.
There's a young lady sitting over in the corner that we'd have to ask her first.
She has full approval, the fiance.
She made me trim my beard today.
We're going to get you on your bachelor party's coming up here in a few weeks. We're going to take you in for a questionable haircut then.
A questionable?
You never know, yeah. Could be gone by morning. You don't know.
It could, yeah.
Oh boy.
We don't know.
Man. So Dakota and I got to hang out. Clay was you flew off. You literally
I
left
was
us.
flying. I was in the air. Yes, sir.
You went out to the middle coast to Colorado and did some mountain climbing and
That is
God
right.
knows what else.
That is right. That is right. I saw 2 different weed places.
Only 2?
Only 2. I was kind of surprised. I thought, okay, I'm going to go out to Colorado and I'm going to see weed everywhere.
It's just going to smell like a skunk wherever you
Nah,
go.
there was literally in my short couple hours drive between Denver and Colorado Springs.
I figured they would be in the airport, just
I
like
only saw 2.
like in Vegas
Yeah,
with the slot machines. You just,
Right.
Like as soon as you land.
Yeah.
Hey, you
Now,
want
I
some
did
weed?
land in Vegas first.
Oh, did you?
And yeah, I saw the slot machines right off the bat. So
Absolutely.
Me and my wife got a little selfie with the slot machine, and
Did you play?
no, did not actually.
Come
but
on, man.
I gave my kids all my quarters before I left.
There you go, just
So,
in case.
just
we
in
didn't get in any
case.
trouble.
Didn't want to be tempted.
Man, so you were gone. Dakota and I don't know how it happened.
It was like the weirdest thing. Like, we have a group chat going with all the people from We Are Libertarians.
Correct.
And James Neese, like, if you listen to the We Are Libertarians podcast, you know who James Neese is. If you do not, then you'll get a little bit of a background from this story. But he lives in where's he?
I think he lives up in Tipton. He lives
Tipton,
north of
yeah, that's
Indianapolis.
right.
He's an IT guy, total grunge. Like he looks like the unwashed masses with the beanie, and no matter what time of the year it is. And
He looks like he literally stepped out of a 1992 punk rock concert.
yeah.
Yeah, and he texts us and he's like, "Hey guys, I'm free tomorrow. Let's hit up the Indian place in Spiceland, Indiana." And I'm like, "What?" And he goes, "I love Indian food." And I'm like, "Okay, I'm
never had it
free."
before in my life, so I'm always down for a story. So I said, why not? We'll
so
try it.
Jeremiah privately messages me and said, "Are we going to do this or just blow them off?" And I was like, "No, let's do it. I think it'll be a good time." So it was me and you and our
significant others,
significant
the
others,
lovely
yep.
Sarah Potter and the lovely Audrey Jo Peavy to be Davis
and then James Neese.
and James.
Yep.
Of course,
And-
James was like 2 hours late.
Yeah, and we come up to the building, and it says Indian food, and then it says carry out, liquor, and cold beer.
And pizza, and it's a Sitco. I don't know if you've had a
There you
chance
go.
to see this place yet. It's at the Spiceland exit on 70
Everything
State
you
Road
need
3.
right there.
Yep.
Yeah, so we went in, and I had never tried it before. It was definitely, it was kind of what I expected. A lot of vivid colors in the food.
Yep.
And
Yep. I mean, if your doctor is telling you that you need to start eating your collards, just go to any Indian restaurant, and you'll still get the unhealthy food, but it's colorful.
it looked like the buffet from Vegas Vacation, where Clark said, "I'll have some of the yellow." That's it. But I did not need extras. I had just enough. And I'm doing this South Beach thing where I'm trying to, not eat sugar and
Yeah. So Jeremiah's
potatoes or
gonna be-
anything.
Jeremiah's going to be on You Can't Outrun the Fork with Brett Bittner in a few
yeah,
weeks.
he hasn't asked me yet.
The keto cast.
I'm just trying to lose enough weight to be uncomfortably to make my suit fit very awkwardly or whatever. That's basically my whole goal now. Is just to look messy.
You'll get it 2 weeks in advance, so
That's true.
you can always send it back.
That's plausible. Can be done. So anyway,
let's hope it happens.
we checked out the Indian food. I didn't have any of the naan. I couldn't have any of the rice or whatever. So I was just kind of eating with a spoon at that point.
Yeah, he was eating everything. Like, I'm getting big plates, and I'm putting down like a huge bed of rice, and then I'm putting like the curry and anything I want just on top of the rice, right? Like, that's how you do it. And Jeremiah's just
I'm almost being
he's-
verbally abused by the staff, going, "You need to eat naan with that." I'm like, "I can't."
Yeah, and he's just looking so sad and disappointed as he eats his chicken curry out of a bowl.
It was like soup. It was like curry soup.
Yeah, and you got asked about 7 times.
Yeah,
Do you want some naan with that?
I really needed to just take it.
Is it naan or naan? I have no idea.
I don't
Did
know.
you get a coupon for a car wash?
I didn't.
Man.
Yeah. So that was that experience.
And I thought it was really good. I mean, but apparently my Indian food experiences have not been on par with James Neese because he gave it a 5. And I was like, really? I'm thinking more of an 8. And he goes, it's too runny.
Yeah.
So
He must be a connoisseur.
Yeah.
That's all right. So we do need to give a big thank you to some donors, Dakota.
We
had
do.
some. We've had obviously we moved into the new studio. This is the second episode. We're on episode 22 of Boss Hog of Liberty, the second one in the new studio north of Q Avenue. fantastic sound quality. That made it out, and we had some more folks reach out. Had a big contribution from thanks to the folks over at Big Bounce here in Newcastle and Weilands Flowers. Yep. Appreciate their support very much. Matt Chapman and all those guys and what they do for us, and then Craig DaCosta and Christy Avery, David Herring and Sarah Potter. We thank them for their support as well. So this is definitely a crowd-funded kind of a deal.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Video is coming soon, but for now you got the audio format, and
but
of course we think we're libertarians. Yes, you got all the decorations in here. He's got we got the Rex Bell for Governor yard sign and the Hillary Clinton nutcracker up on the wall.
Yep, it says cracks the toughest nuts. Stainless steel thighs.
So man,
and there's a slot machine right next to it for Clay.
There you go.
Oh, there you go. Maybe I could play that one since I think it's
it actually works. Like it takes a quarter, and it'll spit you quarters.
Someday when Clay's in the General Assembly, I look forward to him making sure we have live dealers at all of our casinos.
There you go.
That sounds good.
Instead of the holographic.
That's right next to it is a Marilyn Monroe puzzle. That one time, whenever I was a kid, I asked for an Xbox for Christmas, and from my grandpa. And we went over to my grandpa's house, and there's a box that was like the perfect size for an Xbox. And I opened it up.
You thought you had struck gold.
Yep. I'm like, yes, this is it. This is the one. And I opened it up, and then I opened up the box that was wrapped, and there was a thing of Jacks and a deck of cards.
Not Jack Daniels or Jack's Donuts. This was the Jacks, like the kids' game.
You throw the bouncy ball and then you pick up the Jacks, and a deck of cards, and then the Marilyn Monroe puzzle. And he said, well, whenever I was a kid, we didn't have video games or anything, so I gave you what my Xbox would have been. So that's the story of that, in case people come in and they're like, why in the world does he have a Legends Marilyn Monroe puzzle on his bookshelf?
Joke's on him. That's worth like $1,000 on eBay now.
Big time.
Collector's item.
Man. All right, so let's talk a little bit to Jonathan. He's sitting here waiting patiently and suffering through a podcast that have you been a listener? Have you listened to some of this?
I caught some of your episodes here.
Awesome. Well, we appreciate that very much.
I was hoping for a DNA test.
Maybe next time.
Hey, Jonathan, you give me the $100, and I'll make sure that you get the DNA test.
We'll have a $20 contribution, and we'll get you the purity test. I turned out to be more Mormon than I ever expected to be. Like came over with the originals.
That means you can have like 3 wives.
One is plenty. One will be plenty. I don't think I need that those kind of complications in my life. Going to get me in trouble, man. So, Jonathan, you're running for Congress in the 6th district.
Yeah.
Is this something you've thought about for a while? Is this like you've done other political activities before, or just seems like the right time? Let's talk about that a little bit.
Yeah. First of all, thanks for having me. And to make a long story short, no, never had political aspirations. You know, it's not. You kind of read these biographies of these guys that are in Washington, D.C., and it's read like they prepared since they were 6 years old. You know, I'm going to be an Eagle Scout, and then I'm going to go do this, and I'm going to go do that, and then I'm going to clerk for this person, and then, you know, I'm going to be just up and up the ladder.
Right, and you always hear that story. I always wanted to do something in politics.
And for me, it's just the doors kind of opened up, and it was the right time, and frankly, I was just angry. So my background, if we back up a little bit, I'm a business guy. I'm an economist turned entrepreneur.
Okay.
So after I graduated from Ball State, I have a degree in economics and a degree in risk management, and went and worked in the power business.
Yep, for the same company I work for.
Oh yeah,
yeah, based in the Carolinas.
So you were say it on air?
Well, no, I don't usually say I don't say the company thing.
He tries to avoid it. Yeah. We don't want to bring too much shame upon our employers.
No. Yeah. My company eventually was acquired by probably what your company was, but I ran about a $3 billion power portfolio. But I always wanted to be an entrepreneur. So since then, hit the fast forward button. I've started 7 companies. The last company my wife and I sold, I was like, holy crap, I just got nailed with taxes on that. And the whole reason we sold it was we had this huge healthcare issue. It's like, do we expand and get killed by Obamacare to where the point is, you know, We've grown twice as big, but our revenues have grown twice as big, but our profits are half what they were before. So these were the questions that I asked, and afterwards I'm like, we have to do something about this.
Well, I think like there you've got it all wrong because Obamacare created jobs, right?
Yeah,
right.
So
that's how I
Isn't that what they said? Right.
I understood that Obamacare created jobs.
Well, this is interesting.
And it lowered health insurance costs, and everybody that never had insurance just willingly wanted to have insurance after that.
So you're saying that you actually had to...
Yeah, it actually costs employer stuff, believe it or not.
Okay.
And
Interesting.
we were prepping today. We had someone ran some reports. We got a great staff, got a great volunteer staff. We have about 7 interns that are going to be working for us that are Ball State students. And we pulled the demographics today, went and pulled all the employers from the 19 counties. This is a huge district. And of the 19 counties, I think, I have to ask Josh, but I think that 13 or 14 of the 19 counties, the number one employer in the county was a hospital.
Yep, absolutely.
Yeah.
I think that's the case
reality.
in Henry County. In Newcastle, Henry County Hospital is our biggest one, and I'm sure Muncie...
So Muncie, we have Ball State followed by the hospital.
Yeah, followed by the IU Ball Hospital.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which is still funny for me to say. I mean, nothing like IU slapping everyone in the face. There's an IU hospital
right
on Purdue's
campus.
campus, and there's one on Ball State's campus. And it's like, this is the world we live in. Just as long as there's not a Patriot Stadium in downtown Indy, I'm good.
There you go.
Yeah.
So for those of course, this podcast is it's interesting the approach we have. We're focused on East Central Indiana and our local area here, but we also have listeners all over the country, and in fact, we have actually some worldwide listeners. So the 6th Congressional District is mostly rural, as Jonathan said. It's Eastern Indiana, goes from pretty much our part of the state, Muncie and Delaware County, all the way down to the Ohio River, which borders Kentucky.
Yep.
And it's the eastern side of Indiana, basically. So Muncie, Richmond, Newcastle, Columbus, North Vernon, Madison, and I think Lawrenceburg, probably is in the district as well.
Right.
So lots and lots. You talked about Lincoln Day dinners earlier. That's 19 counties worth of rubber chicken that you're eating and speeches you're giving and folks you're seeing around.
So, Jeremiah, do we have anybody that's running in the 6th district? I just need to know how biased I need to be.
So I don't think the Libertarian Party of Indiana has a candidate announced yet. Rich Turvey, also from Delaware County, was our candidate in 2014 or 2016 rather. It was interesting. He and Barry Welsh were chasing around Luke Messer and could never get him nailed down to talk to him to do a debate. When Rex Bell ran against Luke the first time he was elected, there was a big debate up at Ball State, and Brad Bookout, the Democrat candidate, and Rex and Luke all had a nice debate. Looking forward to you being in the debates with whomever the Democrat is and the Libertarian candidate at some point.
For sure.
So who else is running in the Republican primaries?
Right. So interesting. Just to give your listeners a little bit, the district it's a fairly gerrymandered district. It sits about 70-30 Republican Democrat, so it's a fairly safe Republican seat. The Democrats usually don't end up putting a real viable candidate up just because of that very reason. I mean, there'll be some folks out there fighting on the Democrat side as well. But the Republican side and the next 6th district congressman is pretty much determined by the Republican primary outcome. So right now there's 3 of us in it. Rumors of lots of other folks that are perhaps expected to be in it, may or may not be in it, depending on what other people do. But I'm all in it, and we're in it to win it. So,
well, good deal.
Awesome.
Yeah, so it's, if I remember right, Mike Kreider's a state senator. He's announced a couple of weeks ago, and then there's a fellow that I'm not familiar with, Stephen McKenzie, who I think has got a military background of sorts, but I don't know him, haven't met him.
Yeah, he's a reservist. He's actually from Fishers, Indiana, which is not in the district. So the interesting part about our state law in Indiana is...
You can run for any seat you want as long as you live in the state.
As long as you live in the state on Election Day.
Really? I didn't know that.
Yep.
On Election Day.
I believe that.
Yeah, I think that is the case. Of course, in Indiana, residency is a state of mind, unless you're Charlie White and then you go to jail.
Our listeners from Kansas know that well.
That's true. That's true.
So he has entered the race. He ran last time in the 5th district. And got defeated in the 5th district, and so he's moved over to try to run in the 6th district. I don't know if he's declared residency in the district or not, but he's over our way, and I think he's calling home base Fortville, which is also in Hancock County, the same place as Senator Kreider.
There you go. And then for local interest, I know that our city council president has declared an interest or has an exploratory campaign.
Correct,
Nate Lamar, and then there's an 800-pound gorilla down in Columbus that everybody's rumoring about as well. That's been raising money for the Senate seat.
Yeah,
but that's time will tell on that one, I guess.
Yeah, you're a little off. That's about 900-pound gorilla there. Yeah. Which makes it interesting, and it certainly, we can chat about that later. But it certainly adds a whole new dynamic, and a whole new thing is. Hopefully some of us around this table will talk and agree about is we don't live in a dictatorship in an anointed country, nor should we. And
or an oligarchy.
Yeah, that's right.
So I don't know the vice president's brother from Adam. I know when Mike was our congressman, sure. I knew him a little bit.
Apparently, he is about 800 to 900 pounds.
Very hairy.
He is a gorilla.
But honestly, I would encourage you not to shy away. As you get into that race, and if that's what happens, you're looking at obviously you have the concerns of the family tie that
sure.
may be positive, may be negative. It's hard to determine at this point, but also very little political experience on his own, and a situation where you have I think there was a family business there, and there's definitely some holes to be poked in the record of that as well. Yeah. So. Everybody has to interview for the job, and just because you have a birth name that happens to have 5 letters that match somebody that has a residence in Washington right now doesn't mean
and
that
a striking resemblance
doesn't mean that you're on your way, right?
That's right.
So
you just got to realize that the lamb is the fiercest of all barnyard animals. So come on now.
It is. I also heard at the Indian restaurant with James Neese that it's the grossest of all barnyard.
That is true. You want to make sure that you keep your katydids sheared.
Talked about his time living on a farm castrating sheep. He said he probably castrated more animals than any vet in the local area.
So that is such a random fact.
I know.
That's a nice dinner.
The Hillary doll over there?
nice dinner conversation there at the Thai restaurant.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was that. And like the thing is, we're sitting like right next to the buffet, and he's just talking about, he's like, yeah, you just snap the rubber band on there. It goes like through 3 weeks and they just die and fall off, and you'll find them in the yard. And I'm like, oh my gosh. And he's talking really loud. So people are trying to eat.
I've got that agriculture background too, growing up with animals, growing with 4-H stuff. And I very rarely bring that up around the dinner table.
Yeah.
But, or on a podcast.
Yeah. You never know where it's going to go. That's that's just the deal.
I didn't eat any more chicken.
You were over it.
Well, I had seconds on the lamb.
They used to have, in another era in Indiana politics, I read Rex Early and the Republicans used to have a lamb fry every year where you would go and have the, if you had a guy that could get 800 or 900 of them, that was a political fundraiser.
Maybe if we get our the projected number, you and I go bag our limit on squirrels this year. And we'll fry up the chicken legs and have a libertarian squirrel fry.
Oh, God.
Does that sound good? And then
none of it sounds good, but
our fundraiser will be trying to allow squirrel hunting in Memorial Park and Baker Park, both.
Breaking news, I'm no longer on the Memorial Park board, so I have much less influence over there than I did a week ago.
I'm more concerned about Baker Park.
Yeah, it's true.
I mean, just put concrete walls all around it so that the bullets don't escape and hit kids. And... just let us go wild in there like once a year.
We're going to.
Obviously, okay. We can get the wall, and we can make Delaware County pay for it.
You're already beginning your platform.
Is that how things work?
You're already beginning your platform.
I can build things and ask other people to pay for it.
You have to. You have to
Delaware
pick an
County
enemy.
can pay for anything because it's just all corrupt money anyway, so it doesn't matter.
Oh, okay.
It's not their money.
Has the FBI raided this week?
Not this week, but it's hopefully coming very soon.
I can't dog on President Trump too much. We are outnumbered tonight, Jeremiah.
Are we?
Yeah.
It's 3-3.
3-2. Well, I wasn't including Audrey.
What? What? Oh, man.
Hey. They get to vote now, man.
Oh, crap. You're right.
Check your updated Constitution.
I just figured it was assumed that Mr. Lamb, Jonathan Lamb, had brought somebody in with him. But nobody knew that Audrey was in here.
That's true.
We usually don't have a live studio audience, but since we've been in the new studio,
we've had full occupancy each time.
We have.
Once it hit the courier,
Yep,
It was a big moment.
Game on.
Yeah, over in the
Right.
over on the wall over there, you see the
I see that.
the big
Headlines.
cover page a few
Yeah.
weeks ago in the local Brisket Gazette.
Exactly.
It's a good time to reset. This is Jeremiah Morrell with Dakota Davis, Clay Morgan, and our featured guest today is Jonathan Lamb. We are on the We're Libertarians Network. Of course, we're also heard Saturdays and Sundays on Indiana Talks, noon each day. So you can listen to us on the internet. The
number
internet
one
talk.
progressive internet radio.
That's
show.
right. We are featured on Progressive Radio, and we appreciate it. Any outlet we have. That's the way things work for us, Jonathan. As we typically, as libertarians, half the time we agree with the Democrats on social issues, where we just say, let us do what we want. We just won't hurt anybody. And on the other side, on the fiscal issues, most of the time the libertarians are coming down with the Republicans. Although typically we actually mean it. So after Election Day, we still are for the lower taxes and the reduction in regulation.
So we actually have a member of our finance committee that's a devout libertarian. So
is it
really?
Cecil Bohannon?
That would be the one. So
Yeah,
big
so-
shout out to Dr. Bohannon.
So he was the person that put you on my radar back. I'm talking with my
now
hands,
you
and
got the
sometimes-
mic problem.
and sometimes I throw the mic. Lock me down. Cecil had mentioned you to a number of the prominent libertarians, saying, "Hey, this is the guy I'm going to be supporting this year," which is very exciting. But he's obviously very well respected in our circles.
And Cecil is a professor at Ball State, correct?
Yeah,
he's an economics professor. That's right.
And there's another very
Is he
prominent
is he
libertarian Ball
teaching in the
up there.
new Koch Center.
Yeah, so he's pretty active in that and knows a lot of things. They have some lectures and some great folks that get to come into campus.
Yeah, there's a huge student movement against that.
There sure is.
Yeah, and being my age, I'm 21. So being my age, I have friends that are everywhere that have gone to college. Most of my friends went to some sort of college. I went to a trade school and Ivy Tech instead. And it has been amazing, the transformations. So I'm seeing all this stuff coming through from people who grew up in my little farm school that were driving tractors and trucks that rolled coal going down the highway, and and now we're full on Bernie Bros and talking about our free health care and municipal electricity and everything.
You trade your 1 ton lifted Ford for a Civic.
Prius?
Yeah, a
There you
Civic
go.
or a Prius.
Yeah, so
It's always got to be a Civic. You got a Civic assembly plant in your district, man.
Okay.
well, that's why he's not got a dog on him.
That's right.
That's true.
You see my big old truck
That's
out the
true.
window that gets about
Got the
9 miles a gallon
We
all
got
around the district.
the Toyota people are down there in Larry Bouchon's district, so we'll make fun
See,
of it.
you need to do what who was that? Was that Messer that has the big truck?
That's so. If you're running for a statewide office in Indiana, the thing in the last since Mitch Daniels is you get an RV1, or you get the Mike
Right.
Pence had the red Chevy pickup truck, and now Clay's guy Congressman Messer is driving around in a. He didn't spend the money on the paint job I thought he would, but he's got a very basic white Chevy truck, probably made in Fort Wayne, with the Messer for Congress or Messer for Senate
And
sticker on
I
there.
like Luke.
I like Luke.
Yeah.
And James Neese saw it on the road the other day.
Yeah, it's got
And
that.
he
and
said
Rakita's
it's got
the Hummer.
He said it's got new tags on it. It's got new plates,
Uh-oh.
temporary plates.
Tell me you're not.
So he bought it just for the campaign.
May have.
You're not nearly as difficult as
I like Luke.
Congressman
I
Rakita
like Luke.
on your staff walking around, are you now?
Josh has the football right now with him. We carried it at all times. It's got the codes in it and everything.
When he
else,
picks
so
you
we're
up at
good.
your house, does he have to keep the car running a certain distance away so you don't don't gas anybody out? Or
And I've already been told by Greg Pence, who's Mike Pence's brother, and asking questions about my driver, and I kind of looked at him. I don't have a driver. Where do I get this driver at? And I haven't taught Josh how to drive a stick yet, so that's why I was driving around in the truck. I got an old '68 Chevelle convertible that we usually ride in, but he can't drive a stick. He can't drive in a parade or nothing. So
man,
so I have to sit in my own parade and wave at people because I can't get anyone else to drive it for me.
Wow.
It's a rough
Man,
time.
Josh.
I walked my. That brings back a memory for me. So last year, Rex's campaign for governor, we did the as a libertarian, you're expected to walk in the Pride Parade.
Okay.
In Indianapolis, and I walked the route about 3 times before the parade even started because we had a parade car, and we parked at the finish of the parade. Rex and I walked all the way up to the north end of Massachusetts Avenue from Military Park all the way to the north end of the city. About 95 degrees. It was just a terrible day. and realized that we didn't remember the signs. Remember this. You've got to have the signs for the side of your car. So we were in a convertible.
Yeah.
We didn't have the parade signs. So me, being the one campaign staffer, had to walk all the way back down the parade route, pick those up, and then hoof it back up the parade route again. Finally get there, nearly dying, and the parade has already started. So I walked the length of the parade. Like I saw everything, like and more, like 3 times. And then we got to just at the moment I arrived, it was time to walk the route again. And by the time we finished that, I'd walked the entire route 4 times and was ready to die. It was a terrifying experience. So it
works well with that Indian diet you're on right now.
It does now, yes. Yeah, it was that was a day. So yeah, lots of parades. You got a lot of fun time. If you enjoy this stuff, my
kids love the parades. So that's the one thing that they do enjoy.
So how long have you been to Canada? Is this this is early in the cycle, I would imagine, right?
Yeah. So we just threw our hat in. We were all in wait and see mode as Messer and Rakita kind of battled each other out. It was rumors, who's going to jump in, when, and we thought that the rumor deadline would pass and go, and then another rumor would come in, and so officially. Luke jumped in at the end of July, and then Rakita jumped in right after that. We threw in our hat on August 1st.
Okay.
Yeah.
So it's August. You've got August 1st, and then the primary will be in early May. So you've got basically
about 221-ish days.
Eric Holcomb became governor in like 99 days last summer.
Yeah.
This is going to be a marathon.
Indiana, where dreams come true.
That's right. Luke ran for 3 offices in I don't know, 4 months, and finally won one at the end. So that's the way it goes.
I get told all the time by Greg Pence that it took 3 times for his brother to win, and I turn and ask him how many times it's going to take him to win. So I haven't got that response back yet.
He just gave you a cockeyed smile.
Yeah. I really hope you win, just for the reason that I had a U.S. congressman in my guest bedroom.
Yeah.
That way you can say, hey, I know that guy.
Yep, that's right. So that's my official endorsement.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Well, we got a first endorsement. All right out of the gate.
You got an endorsement from a county libertarian chairman.
Holy cow!
We're gonna have to take you out back and whip you for a while for stepping out on the party.
Well,
if you vote in the primary form, it goes on your permanent record.
That's true.
That follows you for
true.
life.
It does, right?
I let Clay put a sign in my yard, but I didn't go vote for him. But I did let my yard help him out a little bit.
I appreciate that.
You didn't vote for our boy Clay?
No,
he probably just voted for one.
If you vote, no, I voted for Clay in November, but I didn't vote for him in May.
The primary. Gotcha.
Because it's a felony. If you're a libertarian and you don't intend, if you go to the primary, this is the way Indiana law is screwed up, Jonathan.
Yeah. So libertarians can't vote in the primary.
We have a convention.
Yeah.
So I vote at the convention twice.
Right.
At no taxpayer cost, unlike the shenanigans.
Did you say you vote twice?
Yeah, I get to vote at my local county convention. And then if you're a delegate to the state convention.
You said you voted twice. I just thought maybe you were a Delaware County Democrat. You vote
there
twice.
You go.
Vote early, vote often.
So, but the way that it's set up in Indiana, you have what's supposed to be a closed primary. We don't have party registration, but you do go, and the state law says that I plan on voting on the majority of the people in this party if you take a Republican ballot or a Democrat ballot. So then theoretically, if you don't do that in the fall, you probably are looking at filling up that Henry County jail that you're trying to help deal with.
Yep.
So, yeah.
Well, I think the whole 2-party system has changed and will be evolving, and this election cycle, and myself gaining traction of being an outside political person. We're seeing more and more business folks like myself joining in the race. I think Donald Trump, say what you want about him, he has changed the world of politics. And we look at some of these races coming up. So you have myself here in the 6th district, and then the 4th where Rakita was. We have what's rumored and pretty much to be certain, Abron is in there.
There's one running for Senate, and there's one running for House, correct?
Correct. So, and then that's the next thing I was going to bring up is you then have Mike Braun running for Senate, which he could be a real big disruptor in the whole Senate race between Luke and Rakita. And
Senate race is going to be interesting.
And Mike is a great guy. His business story is just completely amazing, and really, I think he stands the best chance against Donnelly because he doesn't have the record that Luke and Rakita have. Because he hasn't been there at that national level that the Democrats can't really beat up on his record. So he could be that interesting disruptor to that Senate race.
Yeah, so speaking about those, who is your favorite member of Congress right now?
Well, the whole reason I'm in there is because I'm sick of Congress. I can honestly say I don't have a favorite member of Congress. And people say, who do you most emulate? And I say, I most emulate Jonathan Lamb. I'm not trying to be like Speaker of the House or this guy or that guy. I'm just trying to be myself. And I'm sick of all of them. So I lay awake at night sometimes thinking, all right, so you're sick of them. So if you can't beat them, join them. What was I thinking? It's a little bit crazy. But that's reality is,
Well,
this
as long as you don't tell me that your favorite senator is an independent from Vermont.
So when you say you're sick of Congress, because, I hear, working in the barbershop and been in politics for a few years myself, you hear people say comments like, they're all crooks. I'm sick of all of them. They're all this and they're all that.
Right. That happens like every time.
It happens all the time.
Right.
And even in this last presidential race, when I looked at the candidates, I looked at their records. I didn't look at the media. I didn't look at what the commercials said, because you're going to get lost if that's all you look at. So I look at their record, look at what they vote for, look how they vote very specifically on different issues. So you say you're sick of Congress, and I'm going to throw this in here and just see what you think about it, see what your thoughts are on it. But when I look at Congress right now, I'm very disappointed, okay? I'm very disappointed. A lot of my disappointment's with the Senate, because the Senate seems to be where things are getting screwed up. We have a lot of people in the House that have voted, in my preference anyway, more conservative on some of these issues. There are a few votes that I probably wouldn't have done it that way, but I'm not there. Right, and I realize it's a wicked web there, right? And there's things that go on behind the scenes, and a lot of pressure that I think a lot of people don't get. Okay, so when you say you're sick of Congress, what specifically are you sick of? What specifically would you bring to the table? One issue is the debt issue, and I know you and I had a little bit on Twitter about, I was kind of trying to pull from you a little bit more information, and we feel the same way. Right. It's beyond control, and we keep going further into debt. I personally like what Rand Paul recently said about increasing the debt ceiling. He didn't want to do it, and he thought that we should pull funds that are already budgeted for foreign aid to supply aid to our own people, right? That whole conversation. 17 out of 100 senators, okay, voted against raising the debt ceiling, according to the information I got.
Right.
So, again, when I think of Congress, I think of everything. So what?
Yeah.
Go ahead with your, I'm sick of Congress, but what specifically can you do? What specifically would you look forward to doing? I want to send somebody there with the ability to lead.
Right.
And make some noise. Not to be an idiot, not to be a jerk, right? Not to be a doofus, but somebody that can lead.
Right.
Let's go.
So we did at least see both Messer and Rikita voted against the debt ceiling. We saw that. So that's a positive first step. But I think that, like Rand Paul was saying, I think reality is we can't just run right off the fiscal cliff either, and that's a whole other set of issues. So I think it's that common sense that we have to have, and we have to have a compromise. I think when we look at our race here in the 6th District and we start talking about this 900-pound gorilla, look, there's things, the number one question I get all the time as a Republican candidate is where you stand with Donald Trump. And I think that this is indicative of the new way of the Republican Party and the new way of politics.
Yep.
So we have, if you look at what we have here in the 6th District, Greg Pence is a great guy, but reality is his loyalty is going to lie where his loyalty lies, and he's going to be expected to vote where his brother Mike Pence wants him to vote. I think what I bring to the table is have the ability to vote where votes need it, where Hoosiers need votes, and where we need common sense votes. So I think where I lie is as a disruptor. I have the ability, I have an economics background, I have a business background, where I can vote the way that Hoosiers want us to vote in the way that makes sense. And people are not always going to agree with the way I vote, and I can say that, unfortunately or fortunately, however you look at it, as an outsider, when smart people that are actually involved and engaged in the political process that realize that it's not just TV commercials that you should be deciding who you vote off of.
Right.
They don't have that voting record to look at for me, so it's going to be different. So that's, why we're talking about this and having these discussions. Mm-hmm. So, look at my business background and my record. You can see some of the stuff and, other national podcasts I've done, the book I've written on economics, and you can kind of see a little bit about where I stand on free market, economy. And, we can get into a little free market stuff. And I'm sure that you guys as libertarians understand the importance of free market. And I think that that's lost a little bit on the Republican Party right now, is really trying to understand trade and economics and where real free markets lie. So I'm going to be that guy that, I'm not going to be a jerk about it, but you're going to have to haul me out kicking and screaming because I just refuse to give up on issues.
Right. And the book you mentioned, would you say that is a good description of your feelings and view on economics? And if so, what is that book?
Yeah, I'll bring you guys back some copies. So it's going to have a nationwide release this spring. I'll have copies here in hand in a couple weeks, and then I think it'll be downloaded digital right after Christmas.
Two published authors at this table, and either one of us is from North Dakota.
No. I think I've written more books than I've read lately. But the book's called Economics is Like Sex. It's a great cover, I think.
That is.
It fits with your Marilyn Monroe. I'll show you guys a picture of the cover. It fits with your Marilyn Monroe right there. So it's a picture of Marilyn Monroe and the iconic picture of her in a dress with Benjamin Franklin's head on her.
There you go.
And,
that's cool. Yeah.
So, but the basics of it is, look, economics is this taboo topic that we never talk about. It's because no one understands it. People in Congress don't understand it. The American people don't understand it, and so we don't talk about it. Money is the most taboo topic in American society. And I start out my book by saying that is, if you had to give a speech in front of a crowd, would you rather get up in front of the crowd and talk about your sex life or how much money you make?
Yep. So are you asking me?
Because, no, just think about that for a while.
Clay works in an all-cash business.
That's interesting, yeah.
So, but these are the taboo topics. These are the topics that folks don't understand. As we talk about the folks, and you look at these resumes like we talked about earlier of the who's in Congress and the House and the Senate. I mean, these guys they're smart guys, right? They have degrees from Ivy League universities, they're all attorneys, and they have this and that background. I don't think any of them have a lick of common sense when it comes to basic economics. What really is just simple supply and demand.
Don't diss on my Uncle Rand like that.
So, one of the reasons that the national debt has gone to $20 trillion is that since 2001, we've been in a state of war.
Yeah.
And as a libertarian audience, that's something that's going to strike home for a lot of us. Where do you stand on foreign policy? The U.S. dropped bombs within the confines of 7 countries in 2016.
Right.
I think a lot of us are hoping that whoever our next congressperson is, they assert the power of the Congress to declare war and to actually, obviously the president enacts it, but the Congress has that power. So, to fill us in on how you view that, if you're sitting in that seat, what you expect to be able to do with it.
Well, that's interesting, and you say that we haven't been in a declared war since World War II, right? Or it was Korea officially declared.
World War II. You're correct.
War II. So we've been in a lot of conflicts that
we have
this
in strife
weird
since 2001.
shadow of what's going really on in our military. It's an interesting story.
Was Vietnam was a declared war?
No.
It wasn't?
No. It was a conflict. So
I thought the Gulf of Tonkin got Congress to declare.
Nope.
They're all just acts of authorizations of force, basically.
Correct.
Oh, okay.
And so I think that one thing that I'd like to throw out to you guys is North Korea. You start talking about a mess and what do we do, and look at the driver's seat on that, and we got a lot of people's lives at stake in the Korean Peninsula. So I think there's a lot of folks coming out speaking for and against Donald Trump on that. And, as a pure libertarian view on North Korea, it's such
a difficult topic. Like,
that's the 1,000-pound gorilla. We've moved on from a 900 pound to a 1,000-pound gorilla.
It's a hard topic because it's easy
answer.
There is not an easy answer for North Korea.
It's easy
you can't sanction your way out of it, but you can't.
It's easy for Dakota.
Here
we go.
I'm saying it's easy for me, and it's easy for any other Libertarian Party member, and me as a county chair to sit back here and say, I don't agree with wars unless we've been, unless it's retaliation. That's
the question. If they hit the button, what do we do next? We are in a Cold War.
Yeah.
But do we?
That's reality right there.
Do we need, do we wait until they have nuclear warheads that are the size of ours, and then all of a sudden New York City gets hit by one? What do we do?
That's the barbershop conversation
Yeah.
that everybody agrees on.
I need to sit in the barbershop and get my stair steps. And
you need to
hear
come
on
by.
this.
You'd see a handful of people. But there's just no easy answer. There's just not. I mean,
there's not. And that's what, to answer your question is, I don't know the answer, because if you look at where we're going with conflicts, we all have the hindsight in the mirror to know that we didn't find any weapons of mass destruction. Are we in a nation building business? No. It seems like our foreign policy, we have this, this dependency that you hand out foreign aid. I can't remember. There's a movie that's on Netflix that's, what is it? Basically the dependency on foreign aid. I wrote it down, actually. Welfare dependence, or welfare, whatever it is. And, that's the problem.
I've not heard of it.
Yeah.
Well, you just get to a point where, I'm sensing that the economics is what's driving a lot of your race and or your inspiration to run.
Yeah.
Because of the direction that it's taken the country. And somebody that was a libertarian candidate for president, I think 6 years ago now at this point. But when Gary Johnson was our candidate the first time, a guy named Lee Wrights, who's since passed on, he said end all wars. And I thought he was crazy at the time, because I came from, a quick side story. When I started in politics, or getting involved in politics, because my dad was a UAW employee at General Motors on 8th Street in Newcastle, in Anderson. No, God, Muncie at New Venture Gear. And David McIntosh was the sitting congressman, and my dad was walking out of the turnstiles, and David had a little conversation with him, and the next thing he knew, he had me on the bus with him riding around the district 2 days before the election, and I met David and Ruthie and the family, and kind of started from there and got involved, and was a Republican until
and look at you now.
And
there you go.
I was a Republican.
Boss hog of liberty.
I was a Republican until the senator from Virginia came back and gracefully, when Evan Bayh wasn't running, came back and swept out Marlin Stutzman from his race for Senate. And I said, "The hell with this! I'm done. You guys are it's rigged, and I'm not playing this game anymore." So I left and became a libertarian. And rose to the ranks of Boss Hog of Liberty. Here we are in a spare bedroom north of Q Avenue.
And I'm glad.
Yeah, I am too.
Because now I'm here.
There you go. So anyway, this guy named Lee Wrights, as I get back to this, he's a fellow from Texas, and he said end all wars. It was end the drug war, which we spend just an unconscious amount of money trying to fight a war on both sides of a border in Mexico, and just prohibition. It's the same story we had with alcohol as the libertarian view. Prohibition doesn't work, and it just creates violence, and that's what so many of the issues that we face at home are. And then we're bombing 7 countries, and we're dealing with just never-ending expenditures, where at some point it's just as a fiscal reality, more than the emotional. We need to have do we need to have troops in South Korea or Japan or Germany or all and whatever's going on in the Middle West.
170 bases across the globe is what the U.S. military has.
Yeah, and not to sound like a complete dove, my dad was a Marine, and he was in a unit that was set up to be anywhere in the world in 72 hours to kick ass, but at the same time, this imperialism of just being there constantly. I guess that's where I'm looking to hear some of your thoughts on that. Yeah,
we are a conquering nation, but there is reality that we need safe, secure borders, but we need open and free borders as well. I think your drug argument is one that certainly touches a hot button here in the district, and there's people all of us sitting at this table, you open up a newspaper and you see obituaries with people our age and younger that are dying. And you're like, I don't think that was of natural causes.
Yep. Absolutely not.
Yeah.
So, and you talked about something being hush hush and secret. That's another issue where there's a shame about it, and yet we know it happens in the community where heroin is absolutely tragic.
Yep.
It is. We got to be talking about it.
You typically talk to Republican people, more conservative leaning people. I'm not going to say conservative, more right wing people. And they'll tell you, well, it's just because the police aren't doing enough.
Yeah,
really?
That's not true.
That's not the case.
We got some guys here that are. I talk to one of our officers almost daily, actually, because we work out in the same place, and they're busting their rear end.
Oh yeah.
So, and I know you guys agree with that, but I just wanted to
Yeah, I mean,
to give a shout out there.
Right. So from a libertarian view, I understand the libertarian is, we can legalize everything and control it through that. Is that the answer? I don't know. Is harsher jail sentences the answer? No.
right.
That's not working. And I think you guys were talking about your jail in Henry County. Delaware County's having a debate with the jail. And almost all 19 counties that we go to here in the district are all overcrowded and
Rush
starting
County's
to talk
building
about
a $30 million jail right now.
It's
I believe.
insane.
Yep.
We can't.
30.
We
I think
can't.
that's the number.
I mean, my gosh,
If
just
we'd
start
spend
with,
that much money on
yeah,
preventing the problem rather than that's
right, and
they're not.
like,
That's what politicians. And this one you said, what am I frustrated about Congress? That's just it. It's just we have this myopic view of we look at one side of it and realize that the answer really lies on the other side. It's completely lost on them. It's like and I think that that's indicative of politics. It seems like politicians, to get elected, we have to make a promise of a quick fix. And you realize it's taken us tens of hundreds of years to get to these problems to the root that they are right now. We're not going to fix them in 1-2 year congressional cycle.
That was a
that's
common
reality.
saying in the 2016 election. Whenever you're talking to a libertarian, one of the common sayings that got out for libertarianism and the defense of it is people run to the Republican Party and the Republicans say, well, we're going to give drug addicts harder jail time, and we're going to blame all of your career problems on the Mexicans coming across the border.
Right.
And you run to the Democrats, and they say, we're going to blame all your problems and tax the rich people more, and we're going to give you free everything that you want. But you come to the libertarians, and we say, well, it's probably your fault. You did something wrong, and it's going to take a while to get yourself out of this hole.
It's a
Take
societal issue.
responsibility, yeah.
It's a societal issue, and we're not going to solve that right now, and we're probably not going to solve that in a generation. And it's been a long time coming. Now, to your point,
While we're on that topic, though, not to
Yeah.
well, I say not to interrupt you, but I'm interrupting you.
No, go ahead, Clay.
Look into, not asking for your comments right now, but look into Senator Rand Paul and Senator Cory Booker, some of the work they have done on
Cory Booker's a good one.
on criminal justice reform at the federal level. Both of them have some good points, good views on criminal justice reform.
Don't
Yeah.
leave out my man Massey.
Getting sassy with Massey over in.
but
anyways.
I think we do need to have war on drugs, and it may not be the war you're talking about, but it's a war on how we have gotten to here, and we have to work backwards on it. And a lot of this it's just pure economics. It's economics of the reason people do drugs. If you look at the stats of the folks that are doing and abusing, back to simply the cost of them. They're cheap, and
they've gotten pretty cheap.
that's the issue. Because we went here in our district and in where we're at in East Central Indiana, and you going through Southern Indiana, had the epics of epics outbreaks of meth. When you look at that, meth was cheap, and then what happened? We declared war on meth. We went to war on meth, and we pretty much stopped it. But guess what? We
Now
had a
heroin's
substitution
cheap.
effect, and now heroin's cheap.
Yep.
And that's expensive.
Yeah,
So
you look at Laurel, Indiana, and Connorsville and North Vernon. There are some communities that are absolutely just they're going to struggle.
And I talk to
It's
folks.
real.
Yeah, and it's an economic issue because the reality is we have a governor who's out there working very hard for the people of Indiana to bring in Amazon's new headquarters.
Yep.
50,000 jobs. Well, wouldn't that be great to Indiana? Well, would it really?
Yeah.
Where are we going to get 50,000 able-bodied workers?
That can pass a drug test.
I talked to factories. I was meeting with some folks down south at the Honda plant, and they said something like they had 159 openings, and they had 10 of them, Josh? 10 of them that would pass a drug test. And then yesterday I was in
huge problem
Batesville.
here.
Very real issue.
In
That was a huge
Batesville, they
problem
had a
here
problem.
with Boar's Head.
Yeah.
It was a brand new factory is opening up and offering good jobs, good jobs for people. And, going back to, the quality of jobs of like the old Chrysler days.
Right.
It's at that same tier comparatively. And they couldn't get people that could pass a drug test. And it was like as soon as they said that as soon as they would ask the question, can you take a drug test? They were out.
They haven't studied for that test yet.
Yeah. But there's the folks I was meeting with yesterday. They had 10 jobs, and they hired 10 people for this to fill these 10 openings. And on the first day, they had 3 people show up.
Well, before we switch to another subject, I just my 2 cents is if we're going to fund this war on drugs, if we're going to fund the criminal justice system the way that we do and the amounts of money that we spend on it, I'd like to see that funding split up a little differently. And instead of going to the middle of the problem, help some locals fund prevention and programs of when offenders reenter society.
Right.
Yeah.
So I think here's the issue that doesn't get talked about in Congress, both the House and the Senate, and at the top. It's because people don't understand basic economics and basic business. So you hit the nail on the head. So we have to look at how the government spends its investments. As a business person, I don't mind investing in something if I know I'm going to get an ROI, a return on my investment. So if we declare war on drugs and it costs X number of billions, we better get a return back that's greater to society than those X number of billions we put in, because we have productivity loss in drugs, we have the cost of drugs. So we need to make sure that is an economic war that we fight and that we can win. Because, as I talk to folks that are involved in rehab, there's I can't think of the drug that they give to folks, to addicts, that basically the Narcan.
Yeah.
And what is it dose? It's like $1,500 or something like that.
Yeah.
Well, you look at it, and the average heroin addict is spending.
Are you talking about Suboxone?
No, it's
or the Narcan.
It's Narcan.
It's
Okay.
basically blocks that brain receptor to get addicts to not want to do drugs.
Oh no, that's Suboxone.
That's
Suboxone.
Suboxone.
Narcan is what you have in case of an overdose.
Yeah.
Suboxone
Yeah,
is what you
okay.
have
Narcan is
to,
what
to,
happens.
to block it.
So that's the block.
We're creating Suboxone addicts, right?
But
Yeah.
but
Are you
so
really?
It's
I'm not
$1,500,
gonna get into
right?
that.
But these drug
We
addicts
don't have enough time, Dakota.
have a habit that's $60 to $100 a day, and so is it a good ROI to give these people and get them off of that? And they're like, oh well, we can't afford this $1,500. Well, can you afford a $3,000 a month habit for this person?
Yeah.
So these are the ROIs that we need to start talking about on the war on drugs and how you'll hopefully get to the heart of the problem.
And if you take business type review schedules, you'll look at the war on drugs more often than when we declared it during the Nixon administration. And here we are, 6 presidents later, and we're still practicing.
Yeah.
Still doing the same thing.
And it's even worse than what it was when we declared it.
I don't know, but we probably all grew up here around Reagan time, except for our
No,
21-year-old over
He
here.
was born during.
So you got to miss out the
during
frying
the Clinton
egg
years.
Yeah,
I was
the frying
born
egg
during the
commercials.
Clinton years, but I was
you
raised during the Bush administration.
You probably didn't see This Is Your Brain on Drugs, did you?
Well,
That was classic.
Classic
I've seen
stuff.
it, but I've
Hey, I live for it, and I'm not a heroin addict.
What year were you born?
81.
81.
So
All right, I'm 83, so yeah, you're
technically a millennial.
Yeah, right there at the beginning.
So I graduated high school in 2000. So by definition, kind of the millennial
Yep.
boundaries is really if you graduated high school after the year 2000. So
Yeah.
in the new millennium. So I hooked it right
So-
there.
There you go.
Okay, talking about the war on drugs, we have an issue here in Indiana with our CBD oil, right?
Yeah. So the Indiana General Assembly in the last session that they had, the long session, legalized or in one way for a specific application, legalized CBD oil for people that have epilepsy. That was basically the application that they were supposed to be able to use it. And I think July 1st that law actually took effect. And unfortunately, the way the law was written, they were trying to thread this needle between what was politically possible or not going to get you in too much trouble back home at one of your 19 Lincoln Day dinners, and trying to help people get access to some medicine.
I was actually going to try to give Dodger some CBD oil.
Yeah.
But unfortunately, he died before that.
Oh, did
So-
he? Yeah.
Yeah,
But-
I'm sorry to laugh at that, Dakota. I feel like most of that
Yeah,
was this podcast's fault.
I
but-
really was going to try it. Like, you could. There's all kinds of things on the internet about people giving their dogs with canine epilepsy CBD oil, and
I'm sure.
yeah, and not only does it prevent the seizures, but Dodger had to take 3 pills a day because of his epilepsy, and he would still have a seizure once a month, and but they would be in clusters, so he'd have 3 or 4 right at the same time. So not only would the CBD oil, and this is just a dog, okay? Not only would you just take a vial, it comes with a little eyedropper, and you would just put it in their food, and that would replace all.
Sorry.
Clay's got the
Clay's
dance
phone.
music going on
And-
over here.
And that would replace all the 6 pills a day that I had to give him. Right?
Which probably weren't cheap.
No, they weren't cheap at all. And not only would it replace all of those pills, but if you were, like, whenever they're having a seizure, like they're, a person or a dog's mouth is open, if you would just put the CBD oil in the mouth, then it would stop the seizure prematurely and keep the other ones from happening. So it's like that was a huge deal to me. But unfortunately,
yeah. So what's happened is they passed that law. We're, I guess, 3 months into it and being in existence, and now we've got there was a story in WTHR, the local NBC affiliate in Indianapolis. They published a story of a fellow up in Hamilton County, just north of Indianapolis, who got arrested for having that oil on him. And I guess the local law enforcement officer dipped his strip or whatever they do to test, and they said it tested positive for marijuana. And now the guy's being charged for that. I don't know if the prosecutor's actually going to move forward with it, but at least they followed through with an arrest.
It tested positive. See, they have the test strips, like a mobility kit, right? So he tests it out in the field, and he says, yeah, it's got THC in it. Like, oh my gosh, this devil drug. It's THC. It makes people tired and hungry. Let's get it off the street. So he takes him back. He arrests the guy, and then they ended up testing it, and it tested at a 0.0% for THC. What's the deal here? A man got pulled over, and he had a perfectly legal substance in a test kit that is known with multiple cases across the nation of this test kit just being completely inaccurate, and a man gets thrown in jail.
Yeah. From what I've looked at it, when I was looking at it a little bit today, it just seems like there's a lot of confusion on the issue.
Yeah.
Like you have
so
one
much.
You have one side that's trying to do what they think is the law, and then
Right.
you have the other side that makes the law that has made it kind of hazy and unclear and gray. So, according to what I saw, and correct me if I'm wrong, but I think it may be a little bit of a topic in this next session.
Yeah, I think that
try to
in the short
get
session
some
they're going to have to clean
clarity.
it up, and that's something you'll probably find when you're serving in Congress. Is you want to get it right the first time, so you don't have people out there unclear about the law you just created, right?
That wouldn't
It's a
be
real
Congress
issue.
if that
Well,
happened.
And because here's speaking of the law and the system, and there's a lot of really great prosecutors out there
Yeah.
that are prosecuting according to the law, and it's not even necessarily that they agree with the law per se. Sometimes,
But the law is the law. That's right.
but the law is the law. So,
Without law, you have anarchy. And which brings us, I guess, as we're talking about this, and so I'm not personally a marijuana guy.
Me either.
But
I'm
you
an
look
advocate, but I'm literally I'll drink. That's probably worse, but I'll drink vodka. That's what I
There you
have
go.
tonight. But
But
I don't touch it.
So I'm pretty sure, and I know the answer. I know I'm sure. Marijuana is illegal at a federal level.
Yeah, absolutely.
So,
Sure. Yeah.
But-
what a slippery slope that we're in right now. So
Yeah.
now we have states, and, I'm a big advocate of the 10th Amendment, and probably you guys are too as
Yep.
libertarians. Look, a lot of these issues we talk about, they need to go to the states anyway. So now we have a very confusing system to where do you, if
Well,
you turn
from
your
marijuana to
blind eye on
immigration
one,
to, it's a
so
big problem.
this is the problem that we have, this separation between federal and states, and a lot of this stuff, needs to go to the states. It just needs to flat go to the states. The social issues need to go to the states. It's not the job of our federal government. Our federal government is to make and enact laws that pertain to the entire United States and have a good, sound budget, which is number one. We can't even do that.
At least in Indiana, the budget has to balance, and so does Henry County's. When Clay's working on the Henry County budget now, you have to balance at the end of the year.
Yeah, and here's a little
Not
shout out.
so much at the federal
a
level.
little shout out for Clay.
Yeah.
If you're not friends with Clay on Facebook, you need to do it like right now. Like pause the podcast and go add Clay Morgan as a friend on Facebook.
What about
because-
us? Elect Lamb?
Yeah.
Add Elect
Well, I
Lamb
mean-
on Facebook?
But Clay puts out, like, occasionally Clay will do these Facebook Live videos, and they are very informative, especially if you don't get off work in time to make it to the council meetings. You can catch up with it and see what's happening in the county. He did one today, very informative, and they're only a few minutes long, and they're full of golden nuggets of information.
Well, thank you.
Man.
I think he felt like he had to say that since he went to a different barbershop. That's true.
That's true. So you're big on the 10th Amendment. Tell us about the Second Amendment. Where are you at on that one, Jonathan?
Yeah, it's the same thing. We have unalienable rights that we need to protect.
Oh, yeah, Jonathan. I almost forgot.
All right.
We have some questions from listeners.
Okay.
One of them,
Mr. Cade Coger wanted the Second Amendment.
Contributor,
one of them is Cade Coger. He's
Okay.
an avid listener, and he even
we are. I don't want to alarm you, but we are the #1 tractor podcast in all of Henry County.
All right.
I get more Snapchats and videos.
more dancing music.
Clay is in like the disco over there.
What is going on?
We get more Snapchats and things back from folks that are either harvesting or planting or raking hay or whatever else. More,
But,
Yeah.
I don't know if you've heard about this. It's called Silencer Co.
Yeah. Actually, if you look at my Facebook page, there's some pictures of us
Oh,
testing
really?
out some silencers. Yeah.
Okay, so you know the Hearing Protection Act, which
Yeah,
is
so I have
such a BS name.
You have to word it correctly to get it through.
Yeah, the Hearing Protection Act. But do you know of Silencer Co's Maximum
Yes.
50?
So I didn't know specifically about that one, but I do have a friend that he invited me down to the Indiana State Police. They have a range, and they were doing some testing on suppressors.
Yeah.
As they, we all know them as silencers, but suppressors, I guess, is the correct term here that we're talking about.
Because
What?
silencers are used for criminal activity.
That's right.
Yes,
So-
they're not used for
So
hunters that just don't want to
suppressors are
scare
used
off
for
other
hunting.
That's right.
other
But-
squirrel that they're hunting. They don't want to have to wait 30 minutes between
So I have
shooting squirrel.
So I have a Marine vet friend that invited me along, tag along with it, and just what a difference it makes. So, myself personally, I do like to shoot. Trap, and I have a 4-year-old and an 8-year-old boy, and we were actually just recently at a Yorktown football game. And we got scored on a few times, and when the scores start getting run up, the fireworks go off, and my 4-year-old just hates it. And so, guns and
It
my
wasn't
kids.
the Newcastle game, was it?
That was an epic battle. And then, but guns and my kids, they don't like them. I remember when I was a kid, my dad would take me along hunting, and we never got anything, so I guess we never really shot too much anyway. I think it was just a reason for my dad to hang out with his buddies in the woods, unless it's all, get away.
Yeah.
But my kids don't like to shoot just because it's so loud. And the suppressors, the technology, it's not like it's cutting-edge rocket science technology. Sure. It's a very simple, inexpensive device.
No, you can make them yourself. I mean,
but it's so expensive with the stamp and
Just
what you
use
have
a
to rate to
potato.
go. But what you have, the weight you have to go through to get it, it's ridiculous. I mean, we absolutely need to push through the Hearing Protection Act.
Okay, but I do want to talk a little bit about Silencer Co's Maxim 50.
Okay.
Because have you you guys
I spoke to
Yeah,
Kate
you
about
see
it today.
Yeah,
Oh,
I
okay,
saw it
really?
today as well. Yeah.
Yeah, it's awesome. Okay, I just bought my first muzzleloader last year. And,
Because you want to be able to shoot, but not fast.
well, because muzzleloader season is specific to its own,
Correct.
which is really why I bought it. And so the range on it's incredible. But anyway, the Silencer Co's Maxim 50 is a muzzleloader that has its own suppressor that's built onto the end of it, and it is exempt from any federal regulations because technically a muzzleloader is not a firearm. So they can make this gun that has a suppressor on the end of it and sell it in all 50 states, even California. They can sell it. And
Does the
it's-
podcast reach there?
They try to censor us, but we've got our backup servers.
And it's awesome.
Well, and Cade was telling me today
And
that
muzzleloaders are
the
so
issue
loud.
Yeah,
with
yeah.
it is they are as soon as some of the more liberal states found out,
Yeah, New Jersey, California.
they went rushing
and, Oregon.
to try to figure out how to put a stop to it.
Yeah.
And so actually the company, to my knowledge, according to Cade Coger,
They have.
they put a stop to it, and they refunded people their money and things of that nature.
Yeah, they're
until they can get
$1,000. I mean,
legalities
it's
figured
not,
out.
That's not
Yeah.
bad,
Yeah.
especially
Well, it
for how
almost
long.
cost you that with a stamp just to buy a suppressor.
Yeah, and it.
Oh, exactly.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
it's.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a good gun too. Like if you look at it, the specs are
So
awesome.
if you had the opportunity to vote on this particular weapon to be a legal weapon to be used, yes or no?
Yeah, absolutely, I'd vote
There
for
you
that.
go. Okay.
But we didn't. We did have the question, I guess, that was breached before we went on about recreational nukes.
Yeah. Some of our listeners want to know if
And I
you're
think
going
that I would
to
be.
restrict
You know,
it.
I am a big Second Amendment member. I think I may politely vote no on that.
on
How can
recreational
we-
Yeah,
news.
how can we-
Well, I'm just
Yes.
going to mark that down here.
How can, we, how can we keep a well-maintained militia if I'm not allowed to have a nuke silo in my
while
backyard?
I got this, I'm going to show you the new unofficial official Land for Congress T-shirt, and you can pass that
Uh-oh.
around.
Yes.
So that'll be going live on the website here. You can get your very own
we have
Land for
a
Congress
we
T-shirt.
have a lamb with an RPG and the U.S. Capitol building in the background. Best
I
to my
probably will buy that.
Yeah, well,
Like,
it'll be
that's
available on the
100%.
website next week. So,
That is hilarious.
so get your official, unofficial campaign T-shirt, and you can support
All right.
the fiercest of all the barnyard-sized animals, the one and only
Wow.
lamb.
Well, very cool.
Wow.
So
So in the recon world, Dakota this week, wildly changing subjects. Once again, we'll reset again as a radio amateur. I haven't done that enough. I'm Jeremiah Morrell, the Boss Hog of Liberty podcast, Dakota Davis, Clay Morgan, and congressional candidate Mr. Jonathan Lamb. Dakota, you visited the Newcastle City Council for the first time.
I
You've
did.
been very triggered in the last week and a half over
Oh
a
my
potential
gosh.
ordinance.
this
So you went down there to rain hellfire upon the city council.
I did. It was ordinance number 3772, which is banning all smoking.
How dare
on all public property owned by the city. Owned. I use quotation marks.
So city property.
Any city property.
Gotcha.
Cemeteries.
And
Yes.
I have heard
Cemeteries.
fire departments are included in that.
Fire departments are included in
That's
that.
what I've heard,
Yep.
yes.
Within 25 feet of the entrance to the fire department as well. And sidewalks are included in that. They didn't say anything about the roads, so I don't know if you can be riding your bike on the road
They did
and
say
smoking.
sidewalks, though.
They
Yeah.
did say sidewalks.
So
but-
you can't just walk up and down the sidewalk smoking a cigarette.
No, you
according
can't.
if this passes.
Yeah, you will be fined.
If Comrade
Wow.
Dickin had his way.
Actually,
Okay, go ahead, Dakota.
So
Tell
how
us
much
what
room do you
happened.
have in your jail? That's the
Wow.
question.
Yeah. Okay, so here's the thing. I'm not going to get into the smoking ban because Aaron Dickin is going to be on next week, and I'm going to get into it with him. Instead.
Gently. We want him to like us when it's over.
It's not going to be gentle. It's
Aaron Dickin, we know you're listening.
Oh, boy.
I know. I'm not going to hold back. I did meet Aaron at the council meeting. It was the first time I ever met Aaron.
Nice guy.
Yeah, he's a super nice
Yeah,
guy.
nice guy. He even one time, just real fast.
He's probably
sorry-
not much of a customer of yours, though.
Well, he's not a customer. He is not. If you
He's
see
bald.
his Facebook profile, you'll understand why. But he did give me a text one time. He was walking because on Broad Street is the Republican headquarters for Henry County.
Yeah, we used to cruise Broad in high school.
And he was walking by, and he sent me a text. He's like, "Hey, my wife wanted me to let you know you have a bird in your headquarters." So I thought that was a nice reach out from the other side, from the
Was.
Democrat, Aaron Dickin, to let us know that our headquarters had been infested.
It got
by a
in from
bird.
that rock I threw through the window.
It must have.
Yeah, no, Aaron is a good guy. From from what I saw, from how I talked to him, he's a good guy.
Yeah.
And basically they like it. Okay, so the meeting came to session. The
Okay.
gavel came down from Mayor York. The first thing on the table is a smoking ban. And they said, first thing we want to talk about is ordinance number 3772, which is a smoking ban for city property. Jeff Hancock,
Of the Jiffy Lube Hancocks.
yep, of the Jiffy Lube, shoots up out of his chair. Like, just shoots up out of his chair.
Stands
And-
up out of his chair.
Yeah, and
Wow.
says, I want to make a motion to repeal ordinance number 3772. And as soon as, like, he's
Animated.
Oh, yeah, he's on fire.
Wow.
He's like, I am so against this. I'm going to repeal it. I'm going to be a hero for all the constitutional people in Newcastle, Indiana.
Wow.
And
Just
then,
running out in front of that bus.
Yep. And then as soon as he says that, dang it, I can't remember his name. The legal counsel, Copenhagen.
David Copenhagen.
David, yeah. And he says, well, there's required to have 3 readings of an ordinance before it can actually be passed into law, and there's only been 1, so there's no need to repeal, Mr. Hancock. which it kind of shot him down, and he got a little bit red in the face. But I respect his position. I am in full agreement with Jeff Hancock. I probably would have been just as animated and said, well, I don't care. I want it shot off the table right now. But he held it together better than I would. Aaron Dickin.
Was he absent at the last meeting where they passed it?
Well, it has to be passed through 3 readings.
Right, I'm just asking. He
Was he as animated last time,
yeah,
right?
Well,
I don't know.
He was there for the first reading.
This is the first time I've ever been to a council meeting. So, anyway, but we were talking about Mr. Dickin, Aaron Dickin, actually.
Dickin.
And I don't know if he was just trying to impress me, if I got through to him on his Facebook page, being
You are very influential.
being the keyboard warrior that I am.
You have almost as much personal power as Darren Jacobs.
Almost.
I had to drop his name. Sorry about that. Sorry.
He has to be dropped in every episode. That's how it works.
It's in his contract.
But
that way
Aaron,
he doesn't give me a fine for not cutting my grass because it's getting alarmingly long, and I know he's the guy.
Uh-oh.
Go ahead.
But anyway, they started talking about this other bill that was passed in 1993 that actually already bars smoking within public buildings and semi-covered buildings. Okay, so that would include like
Shelters.
like shelter houses and stuff.
Dugouts at the baseball games.
Yeah,
Your Little
yeah,
League
yeah.
coach is not allowed to smoke anymore.
Right. So then,
coming to.
Not since the early 90s.
Yeah, what in the world is this?
Not
So-
Dakota's lifetime, per se.
No, not in my lifetime. So
is
Aaron
your
Dickin
brain.
actually motioned to table 3772. Yeah. But he did say that his reasoning was because he wanted to read into the other ordinance and see exactly what all it banned.
He wanted to read the archaic old ordinance that was passed when Clay was graduating high school.
But then Aaron said that this is not an issue for the for the city council. He said this isn't our baby to handle if this ordinance is actually already in place. This belongs to the park board.
City park board.
Yeah,
Who
the city
mentioned
park
that?
board. This was Aaron Dickin.
Okay.
And everybody was pretty much in agreement, so they tried to take another vote to pass it, and it died for lack of action. So that's where we're at
I've been
now.
there.
Dying of lack of action.
Y'all been there. I think it is quite possible that Aaron just wanted to table it to wait until he came on the Boss Hog of Liberty.
I think that's what it was.
So that
Other
he
side
could-
of the story.
I mean, I really do think
could
it's
get
because
more
I am
insight.
such a heavy influence on him.
You're exactly right.
We're going to find out.
Am I that powerful?
We're going to find out
I-
next
I,
week.
I will say that whenever I walked in, Corey Murphy of the Newcastle Henry County Economic Development Committee,
Yes.
nchcedc.com.
Yes, of course. That's the one.
Yep, that is a domain site. He actually came up to me and he said, "You look really familiar. Do I know you from somewhere?" And I said,
There you go.
I do a lot of modeling.
I was like, I don't think so. I don't think I've ever met you. And he goes, well, my name's Corey Murphy. And I said, I'm Dakota Davis. And he said, oh, you're from the Boss Hog of Liberty podcast.
It's spreading like wildfire.
Yeah.
It's amazing what one cover on the local paper will do for you, isn't it?
There you
I will
go.
say this, and if this isn't the most beautiful example of bureaucracy that you've ever seen in your life, then I don't know what is. Because Corey Murphy goes up there to give an update on the economic development
Economic Development Corporation.
Yeah, the corporation.
Mr. Lamb, have you
I-
met Corey Murphy yet?
I have not.
Okay.
Yeah, so he
Good
goes
guy.
up there to give an update, and he says, we're changing the domain name from nchcedc.com to growinghenry.com. And he says, and the IN in growing is going to be capitalized, and there's going to be a logo of the state of Indiana around it. And I'm like, oh, that's a good idea.
Creative.
And it sparks a freaking debate.
Oh, yeah.
People are
because
debating,
you left
like-
Newcastle out, dang it.
Yeah, and they're like, oh, I don't like that. Like the NCHCEDC is so much easier to remember. And I'm like, it's a bunch of freaking letters. How can you remember whether or not NC or HC comes first? Like, I'm having a hard time remembering it just talking to you guys.
We know that most of the folks in that committee probably draft all of their letters in all caps, all right?
Yeah, probably. Yeah.
Just screaming at that.
Baby boomers.
Yeah.
Hello, I think that this needs to happen. That's how I imagine all the baby boomers on Facebook whenever they talk in all caps. No, but he.
Don't be dissing the baby boomers. I need their votes.
I have bad news for you. This is not the market for baby boomers on this podcast.
Hey, I have
You're gonna-
family
you're
that's
gonna-
baby boomers.
You're
so
going to
you know
have your
Speaking
parents.
of, I had heard a comment that after it came out, the podcast in the paper, the newspaper, right? There was some older people that was talking to a friend and said, "I just don't understand this Boss Hog of Liberty thing. Liberty's in a whole different county."
Oh, that's hilarious.
Yes, absolutely.
No, they. Oh my gosh.
Sorry.
No, my parents are Gen Xers. They're not baby boomers.
See, that's how
Oh man.
mine are baby boomers.
Yeah.
How old are you, Clay?
42.
Yeah, see, my dad's only 3 years older than Clay.
Yeah. That's
I miss talking to your dad.
He goes to B-52s. I'm sorry. That's why I had to go on the recon mission.
my dad goes to a salon over in Shelby County, over in Morris.
See, I went
go.
to Great Clips. This was a few months ago. I needed a haircut really bad.
in an
And I was-
absolute emergency.
See how quickly we go from one
Yes,
subject to
I'm
the
a
other.
Great Clips guy myself.
Well, that was the situation. I'm like, I'm gonna be working overtime. It's a Monday. I'm not working overtime tonight. I'm just gonna go to Great Clips, and I hated it. I'm so used to the barber shop, and I'm so used to just talking to Clay about and getting heated about politics. And I missed that at B-52s. Like, he just kept asking me about, like, what sports I played, and I'm like, I play golf, and I play music, and I host a political podcast. And he's like, oh. And he's like, well, did you
How
do
about the
anything?
Colts losing to the Rams? Huh?
Yeah, he's like, did you do anything in the military after high school? I'm like, no.
I watched the
No.
commercials.
Yeah. Like, I tried, they tried to recruit me, but I wasn't into
Cheered
it.
for Dale Jr.
So it was just, there was
National Guard car.
there's no conversation there. But anyway, going back to the city council meeting, I'm gonna skip past a couple of these things, like a plat in the cemetery and everything. Like that doesn't really matter. Oh,
The reading of the minutes.
ordinance of 3775 is to establish a one-way on an alley north of Broad Street. I just have to point this out because my ward is Ward number 5, and it is Mark Koger. He is my councilman, and he was talking about the city code and accidentally said shitty code.
Shameful.
Oh, it was hilarious. He said, well, does the shitty code allow that? Oh my gosh, that was so funny.
So this is why you really should attend all
Radio
of the public
edit.
meetings. All of the public meetings.
Oh, it was the first time I've been there, and there's me, and there is Corey Murphy, and there's 8 other baby boomers, like Dale Cole and all them, like our famous Dale Cole from
Yes.
the Boss Hog Liberty.
Of course.
All them in there, and I don't think they caught it, except for Corey and Mayor York and a couple other people on the council. So they're all cackling a little bit, and Mark's cackling at himself, and I'm just back there red in the face, like biting, my lips are bleeding because
dying.
I'm biting so hard. But it was pretty good. But I ended up okay, so if you're listening to this on Indiana Talks, and you have listened to this podcast before, you know that I am pretty far right on the libertarian spectrum. I came from a very conservative household, hardcore, Donald Trump conservative household. And
You just lost half the listeners.
yeah,
He's not really a conservative. You should know
well,
that.
okay, I shouldn't say conservative, but you guys know what I'm talking about.
I feel you. I feel you.
And anyway, so I lean pretty far to the right. So whenever I talk to Democrats, there's just this ingrainment in my head, this red siren starts flashing. It's enemy, 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 and I'm like, no, stop. They're not the enemy. But anyway, that always happens. I don't know why. But so I start thinking that man, my councilman is Mark Koger, and he's got that freaking D beside his name. What is about that? And we started talking about the smoking ban. We started talking about the 2018 budget. They started talking about giving all the counselors raises, and he is on it. He's aligning with all of my principles. And here I am. I'm sitting here thinking I might want to be running for my district in 2019. And I'm like, man, but I like Mark a lot, and I just don't know what to do. But I have to give a shout out to Mark. He is a good guy. He's got good principles.
You were impressed by
I was
your experience.
super impressed.
Yeah.
Well,
One
deal.
thing I've noticed since being involved is across the spectrum in this area, it's much different than Delaware County.
We've had much fewer arrests.
Yeah.
The
So far.
Republic. I mean, across the board politically, we all fairly conservative thinking.
Oh, yeah.
And
you and I have talked about that before.
oh,
like,
yeah,
when
yeah.
John Gregg
It's-
was running for governor, if
it's
he were to
pretty
go out
easy
to
it's pretty
Portland,
easy.
Oregon,
yeah,
he's not a Democrat.
it's pretty easy to get along around here.
Yeah.
With city, county, and I'm Republican on the county. Most all of our city is Democrat as elected officials, and we get along really, really well.
It doesn't work that way in Delaware County.
No, it does not.
No.
So
You have 4 parties up there, right?
I
Yeah.
do want to talk about Ordinance 3777
all right.
through Ordinance 3783, which is the salaries of all government employees in the city. And so they start talking about counselors and the clerk and the mayor and everybody getting raises. And basically this would give them a $500 a year raise. They make $6,000 a year as it is. We do have one at-large councilman, Rex Peckinpah, who writes his check every month back to the city. He doesn't take any money, and which is awesome for him. And but they wanted to get a $500 a year raise, and Mayor York is just hounding on this issue. He's like, "We don't get the opportunity to give you guys raises very often, and I think that if we really want people to start running for office and getting involved in the community, they need to make more money." And Aaron Dickin is like, "Nah, dude, you're insane. Like, we don't even do $6,000 a year worth of work," is what Aaron's saying. A couple of people are like, "Well, the county council, like freaking Clay Morgan, they only meet once a month, and they make double the money we
That's
do."
right. And that's all I do.
Yeah, and Aaron's
That's all
like,
I do. I just meet once a month.
"Yep,
Just once a
that's
month.
it."
That's right.
And no, that
Can I
literally
run in
was
Henry
said.
County?
That literally was said. Like they didn't bring up your name specifically,
No,
obviously,
yeah, I
but they
know.
were like,
Yeah.
"Well, they make double the money and they do half the work." And I'm like, "Really?" And Aaron Dickin, he's like, "I'm pretty sure that the county is bigger than the city, you guys. Like, and they probably take in more tax dollars than what the city does." But anyway, Aaron made the motion to deny the raises for city council, and it ended up failing 4-3, so it was really close. Jeff Hancock ended up making a motion to pass all of the raises for everybody, and the motion carried 6-0 with Aaron Dickin abstaining.
There we go.
So
Well,
I'm excited to have Aaron on
That'll
the
be our
podcast.
teaser for him next week. We're getting to about the end of the show here, so we'll go around the table and have final thoughts and everybody a chance to plug something. Clay, you got any final thoughts for us tonight or anything you need us to look out for?
Well, I tell you what, if I could just do away with my final thoughts, I forgot the technical term to that. I have one more question for Mr. Lamb.
All
if
right.
he would
All right.
take
Hot
2
seat.
minutes.
Hot seat. Yeah, let's go.
Just 2 minutes. Just thoughts on education, and also tied in with that, I realize you're not going to be able to describe the whole subject within a couple minutes, but thoughts on education and then special education, because I have someone on my Facebook feed that has been fighting strongly for equal opportunity for special needs children and the inadequate funding in certain areas. And I realize some of that's a state issue, but again, it goes back to my comments on the war on drugs. If we're going to spend the money,
Better give us
let's
return.
spend it. Yeah, let's get a good return on that investment. So again, thoughts on education and coupled in with that, special education.
All right, so I'll try to do it under 2 minutes. Go.
Go ahead. You're on the
Solve the world's problems right here under 2 minutes. Education is one of the number one issues in the district with regard to this. It's all about economics. And as I meet with business owners, I meet with factory owners, and we look at what you guys remember Henry County as, what I remember East Central Indiana as. It's completely different than it was. And we have had a simple brain drain across Indiana. Indiana is losing population. The rest of the folks are gaining it. And a lot of that has to do with the education of our folks. I think it's the expectation now of parents to send their kids to college. And, I'm glad to hear Dakota say that he went to Ivy Tech and learned a trade, and that's what we're losing in right now. So education is more than just what takes place in a book and gaining knowledge. And we have to start that process young. I think that we've mistakenly believed that we start thinking about what we want to do in the last kind of semester of high school, and it doesn't start then. It starts early. My wife is an educator. She's got an elementary education degree from Ball State. She taught fourth grade for a number of years, and then her and I ran a daycare franchise, and we had 190 kids in our daycare from ages 0 to right up to kindergarten. So education starts early, and if we're going to return this area to kind of a world-class area, we have to start with world-class schools and world-class education. And that doesn't necessarily mean that we need to be pumping out doctors and lawyers and all these white-collar jobs. It means that we need an education that fits the demographic and the mold of our society. So I think it's important. It starts young, and then it goes in through, trade schools and our universities.
Yep. I learned a long time ago that you need to follow your dreams, but your dreams need to be obtainable.
They need to be your dreams and not what someone else wants you to do.
Yep.
Special education?
Yeah, so so I know that Indiana has worked on this. I can't remember. Josh and I were at a meeting with this not too long ago, and it was a hot topic. I know Indiana has allowed some opportunities for some folks with special education. They need to do, and especially we look at autism education. It's something that is greatly needed, and we're seeing more and more prevalent of it in society. And my wife and I talk about this all the time. We, even looking back when we went to high school, almost 20 years ago, we don't remember the same need for autism that we see now, and how really prevalent it is in our society. And we can't just cast these folks away. And we talk about taboo topics, economics. These are taboo topics as well that doesn't get addressed, and we need to address them. And so, yeah, we need to have programs with it because it is here and it's not going anywhere. And these are people that can be integrated with society. We've been bashing a little bit on Delaware County today. Which is all fair and fun and games, but we have some great programs in Delaware County that we're doing to help with some folks to get them on the job training after high school and prepare them for life. They're doing great things with the hospital and
the Arc Hotel.
Ball State. Yeah, great program, and I think that we need more of that because our special education folks, there is life after high school with them, and we have to figure out ways to integrate them and get them involved.
Very good. Anything else from you, Clay? You got a big meeting you tried to plug it today on Facebook. You're trying to get some locals to show up for, correct?
Yeah. So thanks for bringing that up. Yeah. Next Wednesday at 3 o'clock, the great old time of 3 o'clock in the afternoon when everybody can attend.
So this coming Wednesday?
Yes.
All right, I'm going to see if I can skip out on work a little early.
There you go. It should be interesting. It's our public hearing on the 2018 county budget. Honestly, I don't know if they'll just try to say, well, we have to have another meeting before we discuss it, or why. I don't know what they'll try to do with it, but I do hope to be asking some questions and try to get a few answers because there are some things that are kind of hazy right now. And anyways, I would like to definitely talk about that more in an upcoming podcast when I can find out more information, because right now it doesn't look good and it is kind of hazy. But yeah, next week, next Wednesday, 3 o'clock is our public hearing in the courthouse, and we'll be discussing some of the things that we found out with the budget. And
it's in the courthouse here in Newcastle, right?
Yeah,
the new one.
No, the old
courthouse,
courtroom.
Second floor. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, the old courthouse, second floor.
This is just for my sake.
So we will be. It is the public hearing on the 2018 budget for Henry County, 3 o'clock. If you can make it, if you can't, God bless you. You're working, and I will. I'll do an update on what we talk about and things. So trying to keep up with it myself.
How long are you expecting it to last?
Until the commissioners' meeting.
Yeah. No, the public hearing is actually kind of scheduled from 3 to 3:30 because our council meeting, our official council meeting, regular monthly meeting starts at 3:30. But if it lingers over, I mean, it'll just linger over, and we'll.
Is the council meeting open to the public?
Oh yeah, it's all open to the public. And real quick, October 2nd is our specially scheduled budget session where we're going to come back to the table to look at how we're going to allocate the funding, where we're going to make cuts, things like that. Again, I've heard some crazy stuff out there. So hopefully we can get a handle on what is happening and what is trying to be done, among some. But anyways, that is 8 o'clock to probably noon or 1, 8 o'clock in the morning. So most people won't be able to attend, but it is open to the public, and if you can attend, it should be pretty interesting.
All right. Well, very good. Hopefully, folks can make it out to that for Clay. Jonathan, final thoughts, ways to follow you on social media, all of your ways to reach out and support your campaign and learn more about you.
Yeah, we are on Twitter and Facebook at ElectLamb, and that is elect and then lamb, like the fiercest of all the barnyard animals, lamb, L-A-M-B. We have a real big presence on Twitter that's just followed me over from my business and economics world. I think we have 30-some thousand followers on Twitter. I was probably the only millennial in the world not to have a Facebook account, and I got one of those on August 1st when I announced I was running. So we have a Facebook account, so come on over and check us out at ElectLamb. And the website would be the same. That would be www.electlamb.com.
Awesome. Very good. Well, we thank you very much for stopping by and hanging out with us and learning.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
I know it's a little bit of an unorthodox platform, and we certainly appreciate you doing the long-form show with us today.
Anytime.
It's awesome. Dakota, final thoughts from you?
I just want to again thank Jonathan for coming out and Josh for driving him in the big truck. No, but I really appreciate you coming out. Like, one of the biggest things for me, whenever we first started doing this podcast, and I mentioned it on one of the previous episodes of where I wanted to take this, and we were talking about our goals. My biggest goal was to make us a respected platform to where people running for office would want to come and talk about the issues and their points of view on things.
Well, you got a long way to go then to be respected.
Yeah, but you made that happen for us tonight, and I really appreciate that.
No, I appreciate you guys having me. This was great, and what you guys do is truly amazing. I'm glad we're out here talking about these issues because they're things that they are these issues that are taboo and get swept under the rug, and people don't know that they're actively going on. And that's the one thing that's really opened my eyes on this whole process is the complacency of the American people. Really people do not know and understand what's going on. And to Clay's point earlier, it's not all what you see on these commercials. There are really things behind it. And to your point as well earlier, again, when you talk about getting involved and meeting people and knowing people that are involved in them, yeah, we may be going to battle with some people in this primary, but you know what? They're all good people. And at the end of the day, hopefully the people that are in it are all doing it for the right reasons. And we all want to see, at the end of the day, we're all Americans working to that common goal. And I think that that's what we need to be trying to achieve.
Yep, absolutely. So I guess my last final thoughts here are once again, and thank you to the people at Big Bounce and the flower shop that we actually Audrey and I got our wedding flowers from there.
Really?
There you go.
Yeah.
There you go.
Yeah. So
and now if you just get your hair cut at one of your own.
Yeah. What's funny is like the amount that they donated to us is the exact amount that our flowers cost.
Well, there you go.
Nice.
So
there you go.
Worked out
the
nicely.
gift that keeps on giving, Clark.
Yeah, it's awesome. But a big thank you to everybody listening. We have a lot of fun with this podcast, and I really hope that it's informative to everybody. I wish Jonathan the best, and you can follow me on social media at Tokad Savad on Twitter and at Dakota Davis on Facebook.
Well, very good. Jeremiah here. Final thank you to Jonathan for coming out here. I know we ran a little longer than you're probably expecting, but we do appreciate you sticking with us. And Josh for playing my role. I did that all through 2016. I sat in the corner during podcast and radio interviews with Rex's campaign. So thank you guys both for being here. Definitely look into them. As libertarians, ballot access is always very important to us, and making sure that you have choices. Whether it's the Democrats, Republicans, Libertarians, Independents, the Green Party, ballot access is way too difficult in the state. Jonathan is going to, if he's not there already, he's going to have to go out and get hundreds of signatures to get on the Indiana ballot.
We don't have to do that at House race.
I'm sorry, you're going to have. You would have to do that.
Folks.
You would have to do that in the Senate race.
Doing
yes,
that aggressively.
And they have to do it in the, I guess, to get on the ballot in the counties, but you don't have to here.
No, we don't have to.
It's very important, the work he's doing to give people choices so that there are more than just one name on the Republican primary ballot. So we're very happy that he's here. Definitely look him up on social media. I want to thank everybody that has supported this podcast so far. 22 episodes in is just incredible. If this is the first time you're listening to this and you want to hear more about it and you're a fan of Jonathan's and you've stuck around this long, go back and listen to some more episodes or like and subscribe on SoundCloud or iTunes or any one of the different methods you can listen to this show. We're on Spotify, TuneIn Radio. It's just crazy the amount of platforms that we're available on now. If you need to hit me up, Morrell at bosshoggerliberty.com. And until next time, it's more forced friendship. What are we signing off with, Dakota? I don't even know.
Well, you should probably just check to make sure you hit record.
Well, we did that. We got that one. Yeah.
All right.
It's always a fear. It's a fear I always have, Jonathan.
But your mom didn't like cocaine.
No, she never did. No.
Man, I really don't.
I don't know.
Make Henry County great again? No,
that's probably not it either.
How about I'm not a crook?
First in friendship, fourth in obesity.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I did not have religion. No.
Just a good old boy.
We'll just tell everybody thank you, and that we'll see you on episode 23 with Aaron Dickin.
Henry County, Indiana shines.
There you go.
Thank you for listening to the We Are Libertarians Network. Get our other shows at wearelibertarians.com.